has the most historically bullish indicator on Bitcoin just given the signal for a buy?
Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Let's see if OBS wants to work. Hold on, quick fix. There it is. Yes. Oh my God. Okay, hopefully this one actually works. Anyways, I do want to wish you a very happy and healthy start to your Saturday morning over here from actually a bright and sunny Helsinki, Finland. Cold as fuck though, 0 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit now. I feel like that's the point of full assimilation from being American to European, is going from weird American metrics over to the metric system. Anyways, other than that, I should say that I'm not sure if I'll be on Twitch today. Again, kind of dealing with the same sort of things. Elsa has gotten tested for coronavirus the other day. She's awaiting her results, but I don't really think that we need results to confirm that she feels very bad and is running a fever and is like obviously not in good shape right now. So do have to prioritize that. Obviously, you know, human life over magic and money's business, if you will. But a few things to talk about today. As far as the higher term timeframes go, really haven't seen anything different happen over there. So we'll maybe briefly go over today. I do hope that this video is going to be a little bit on the shorter side, maybe even less than 20 minutes if I can, with the focus tomorrow on the higher term timeframes. But realistically, the reason why we're not talking about them is because the lower term timeframes are, well, more appealing right now, and really nothing's changed. So don't really want to be repeating the same fucking things every goddamn day. So if you really do want to see it once again, nothing's really changed from last Sunday's long-term analysis video, and you're more than welcome to check that one out in the long-term analysis playlist. Anyways, as far as the Krown trading application goes, right on over here, we do have the open interest chart now live. All you have to do is click on the number reading on the open interest chart. Oh, motherfucker, it's actually not updating right away as well. Damn it. Okay, well, we can deal with this later. Hopefully this video comes through right. Anyways, you will notice that we only have data going back a few days now, but that will be populated over time. And in this next update, we will see, you'll see that chart be absolutely beautified by our lovely creative designer. I was about to give out his full name. It's like, wait, maybe I shouldn't dox this person. We'll just leave him at that. Lovely creative designer. He's awesome, man. The man from Florida, the one sane person in Florida, maybe. Anyways, looking at open interest, nonetheless, we do see it hanging around that 650 million marker, which tells us still that we're kind of caught within the same paradigm in this market. We haven't really seen a big shattering move above the 750 million marker on the open interest. We haven't really seen a shattering move back down below 550 million. So we're kind of caught within the same sort of phase, I suppose, if you will. Anyways, on top of that, I think it's time for me to answer the question that I posed at the beginning of this video. Has the most bullish indicator for Bitcoin that has been pretty damn accurate in the past, has it actually flashed a buy signal? And I want to preference this first by saying, I've gotten a million fucking messages about this, even despite my requests that right now is not the best time for messages. It's just really difficult for me to get around. I don't want to come off as arrogant or just a completely detached asshole, I guess. But it, a little bit of real life right here, and a little bit of what's the word that I'm looking for, perspective. But let's go check it out right on over here. A million people have fucking sent me this. It's about the hash ribbons, and they say, Krown, the hash ribbons just signaled a buy signal, and it's always right. Why aren't you talking about it? It's like an accusation. Well, we can go look at it right now. Well, let's answer this question. So let's look at it right here. We do see that on Bitstamp, it is actually postulating maybe a buy signal. Now, this is actually not confirmed as it is, and the exchanges that we go through as we kind of look through all of the majors, you can see that there's obvious bifurcation within this. This is GDAX. We are not getting that same buy signal. It goes up and down depending upon how we kind of close this current day, or sorry, where we are currently. But literally, if you see just one tick lower than where we are right now, you will see this undo itself. Same thing with Bitstamp right here. Same thing with Finex right here, or actually Finex. Okay, yeah, Finex does have it there, and then BitMexico is actually looking a little bit more likely, but it is perhaps within the cards. But let's actually do a little bit of a deep dive for this. This is going to be the one thing that I talk about from a long-term time frame perspective, being a daily, so not so much. But we're gonna have to go over a little bit more of historical price action here. Last time that we did have a buy signal was pretty damn good as far as getting the loss of momentum to the downside before a $4,000 rally to the upside. This was back on over here in late December 2019. 2018, right around this region right here. Yes, Bitcoin does have a short tumble, but does not make a new low after that before a $4,000 rally to the upside. Let me just make sure that I'm recording. I am recording. The microphone's working, so that's good. Before that, actually, we need to go to an exchange that has more price action history. We can go on over here to January 2019. Again, we do get the buy signal here after the lows put in, so no new lows were made, but Bitcoin does tumble over kind of near that low once again. So I do think that that's interesting nonetheless. And then if we go back a little bit further than that, we have another example back on over here. This one, at a different phase of the market cycle, as Bitcoin was obviously in an uptrend on the macro phases. And right here, we do see a buy signal postulated basically at the end of this. I call it a crash, call it a correction. It was a pretty intense move. I actually remember this one. I believe, 40% move to the downside relatively fast. Now, again, getting the buy signal after the low is put in, but does come back down a secondary time. And in kind of, I wouldn't say test the prior low, but does kind of have another ebb to the downside. A couple examples back and over here in 2014, 2015 as well. We do see this buy signal right on over here. This one again was the ultimate low in. Yes, it was. Does Bitcoin come back down and actually make a lower low than where that buy signal was postulated? Yes, it does. By good, well, I don't know by how good of a margin right here, about 10, 11%, which is significant. And then, of course, we have an example right here. Obviously, this one timing it even worse. But was the low actually in? Yes, it was. And does Bitcoin come back down? Like, obviously, we already know that. And then, of course, this one right on over here. Again, not the best timing of momentum to the upside at all, but was a low in beforehand? Yes, it was. And the main thing is that we don't really have any fake outs with this of like making a new low, at least that I've seen thus far. So it is interesting, and I do think that it could be, it could be of significant interest if we do fully and formally confirm this. But that's still not happening until later tonight. So today's daily dildo closure going to be relatively important. Again, right on over here, we have this example in February of 2013. This one, it's hard to kind of zero in on it. This one actually did get a good timing signal right there, but again, that's actually an outlier. That's one out of, 6 or 7 now. This one right on over here, same thing, gives you a buy signal. This one does come back down and actually test around that area, but just ever so slightly above it. And the low was obviously in beforehand. And then we have this example back and over here, again, giving you the buy signal. Yes, we do come back down to that area to test around it. This is getting a little bit too far back in Bitcoin's history for me to really feel comfortable with. But again, the low was in beforehand. So that seems to be consistent. And I do think that this is of interest. But the reason why I haven't been talking about it is because I don't believe it's been confirmed just yet. We need to see another daily dildo close, because I do see this kind of, going in and out here. Depending upon how today's closed. So you will see that the most recent circle, if you will, on this is blue. That needs to be sustained for at least a day, and then yes, it actually would be within the cards. But remember, as we've shown over the history of time, that doesn't mean that Bitcoin's not going to, or potentially couldn't come back down. In fact, that is par for the course from what we've seen longer term. But I do think that this does really start to shape up the conversation of this really operating as a long-term, perhaps macro low. I do think that the bears who are saying that this is going to go down to 2,000 or even 1,000 or even back down to 3,000, I think that that's unlikely. I do think it's likely that we will have another down move, probably back down to like low 6,000, maybe even low 5,000. But this also does kind of fit in with my analysis of traditional markets, where I do think that traditional markets have, I think they're more than likely bottomed. Again, doesn't mean that it's not going to come back down. In fact, I do think next week's going to be a down week, just like like I said this week, which did come down, and I think that we're going to get continuation next week. But are we going to actually make a new low? I think it's just going to be a bear trap, realistically speaking. I think that most people are, I think that the average retailer is bearish right now. I think that the average retailer, someone who you talk to and like any fucking conversation that you'd have now with a regular person is, man, the economy's really bad. A lot of recession. We're going to go into a depression. It's like, that is, it seems a little bit, it's like the opposite of euphoria. It's like, what's like an immense love for downside. I don't know, whatever it is. Despair. Yeah, despair is the word I'm looking for. Although there should be a stronger one than that. If you have a stronger word than despair, please let me know, because I'm looking to expand my version of English at least as it is. So yes, that is in the cards tonight, and if that does get confirmed, historically speaking, that has been 100% correct. Now, that again does not take away from the fact that I do think that there is a very actually not just possible to have another move to the downside. I think it's actually rather likely, but I would not necessarily look for that move to be a massive earth-shattering move to the downside, making new lows again if this gets confirmed. So there's a big if statement there. All right, so now we just talked about all the higher term time frame bullshit that I wanted to talk about. Now let's go down to lower term time frames and talk about what is likely to happen on a fucking Saturday, which is usually rather dull. So yesterday I left you off and we were kind of flagging out above this blue box territory. We did come back down and test it a few times. Again, I think that my own trading style here kind of, I think that it's pretty self-explanatory. Just testing into the blue boxes until we actually do break them. But again, as it's been tested a couple times here as support, offered up a couple nice scalps, and to me it looks like we are going to be getting ready to test some upside here after a failure to break down. Another swipe into the blue box territory right in over here I think is rather likely. And yes, I did close shorts within this region yesterday on this second test right here, pretty much around the time that I woke up. As I wake up rather early, I went to bed last night at like maybe 8:30 or 9. It's fucking insane, and it's been consistently like that for like a couple months now. It's kind of crazy. And what's even crazier is that actually outside in Finland right now, it doesn't get dark until really fucking late, and there's actually going to be a period of time like for a month or so where it literally does not even get dark at all. It's at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. it will be bright as fucking day at that time. It's just insane. I actually hate it. It's probably my least favorite thing about living here. Anyway, so, as it stands right now, I want to see if my momentum oscillators are agreeing with this. It looks to me like it wants to have another test to the upside. 4-hour Stokes did come down all of yesterday, but price action failing to break below this region right here does offer up more of a look as this as a bullish reset. Sorry, let me get rid of this right here. It's not relevant to what we're looking at. It does look a little bit more like a bullish reset, but let's see how the other lower term time frames are kind of operating right now. This is a fresh look on price action for myself this morning. So I don't have a bias coming into this. We do see 3-hour Stokes already kind of curling up and rejecting getting out of the bullish control zone. So I do like that. Going over to the 2-hour, I expect to see the same thing. Yes, indeed we do. And the hourly, I expect to see all the way up there. Yes, indeed it does. So that's more or less good. And I do think that we are going to test some upside here. Yes, this is a little bit of a bull flag as it stands on the lower term time frames. I think it's most obvious in like the 2 and 4-hour, and you could make a mesh move off this. I mean, short term, for a very short term move, I'd say a move past back above this little prior high right here at 76.10 on Mexico does initiate a move all the way up to 77.50. Again, this is a Saturday. It's not any like earth shattering move, but if I am trading the lower term time frames, that's what I'd be looking at. Although I do not trade on the weekends for the specific reason that it's usually time for fake out territory. And with that potential buy signal on the hash ribbons, is it would right now be a good time for bears to mount an attack if they did want to mount an attack? Yes, I do think so. So I would be overall cautious here, but pivots for trading this area, or at least trading supporting resistance, are pretty damn simple. Same shit as what we looked at yesterday. 7,400 to the downside and 7,800 to the upside ish region. This area right here, obviously a lot bigger, between about 78 to let's call it 79. But that's relevant to the higher term time frame. So I really want to see like a higher term time frame close above there, 12-hour daily at the minimum, and that's gonna really start to shape up or change the rest of my analysis. But for right now, it's looking like the lower term timeframes do want to test up a little bit again. Maybe another test back up to like 7750-ish region. I have no opinion on whether Bitcoin closes above there or not. I do have an opinion on how this will set more long term if that hash ribbon signal does get confirmed later tonight, which it's going to have a chance to. But it needs to close daily, needs to close above about 7500-ish region for it to be a topic of consideration. And I believe if we close below 7400, that will actually be reverted. And I do have my skepticism here, but it's really going to align with my long-term view of, okay, is Bitcoin still in danger of making a new low below this low that we've kind of already put in, or is it, or Or is that conversation well and gone? And on the next big down, I should be looking for perhaps adding to like a long-term hodl position. That's to be determined, which we will have clarity on tomorrow. Now, for what it's worth right now, it actually, I said I wouldn't go on to higher term timeframes, but I would like to look at CMEs because we did see the weekly close for CMEs yesterday night at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. This weekly close right here doesn't really offer up too much. It does look good from a momentum oscillator perspective. We do see weekly Stokes back up and rejecting the bearish control zone. I think that's more good than bad, of course. And weekly RSI is getting back above the exponential, although that's not the most strong read of all time either. And Bitcoin did close above the 10 simple. So realistically, it just offers up a very easy way to be trading this coming into next week, which is going to really help formulate any sort of buys for a medium term move. Just trading this as kind of a doji doodle below it at 67.50 or above it, whatever the high was. I think maybe we even got to like 8,000 here. No, 78, 70-ish region, it looks like. Whichever one gets taken out first should be our next even probably higher term time frame direction. So starting to look a little bit more interesting here. Weekly Jewel not really telling us anything. It's not really of too much interest right here. Daily Jewel, I'm just looking at spot just to kind of compare. Not really getting anything obvious as well. So does Bitcoin have another attempt back up to the upper 7,000s in the lower term timeframes? Perhaps yes, but I'm not really concerned with that. I'm concerned with the higher term timeframes right now, as we're going to get some clarity on the long term situation here relatively soon. Now, is there bearish divergence on the 4 hour between this point and this point formulating? Yeah, pretty much. Is that mediated by our more higher time frames, like a 12-hour basically? That could be undone, especially if we close this next 12-hour above the 200 exponential moving average, which is 75.50ish region, so pretty much where we are at right now. So we could even make this on a low-term time frame area right here. We could actually mark off the low-term time frame actionable area pretty damn nicely as well. Something like this is what I'd be looking towards, and I could even use probably a low-term time frame like this, like even an hourly, as we actually do see that work out pretty damn well on a weekend, more or less. Not always perfectly, but it's obviously going to come with its reservations being a low-term time frame, but I have seen it work, no doubt. Anyways, if you want to be a little more conservative, use a 2 hour, I suppose. And you could just use this area right and over here if you're playing the flag. And if you are playing the flag formation, anywhere above 7,600 on an hourly or 2 hour close, I'd be looking for a move back up to about 77.50ish region. And that should pull up our 4 hour momentum oscillators back up to the upside. And that's going to look a little bit better. However, that could be a little bit of an issue. That's not an issue. That's not an issue either. I'm just seeing if there's any agreement. So it looks to me like the 2 hour Jewel is a little bit of the odd man out. It would be suggesting pressure down, but still, I'd just be going from level to level here. Bitcoin does take out this level, or even just take out that last little wick high that we saw from the 24th of April. I'd probably be looking for another attempt back up here into the lower end of the blue box at the very least. By the same token, any wick below, any even tick below this low that we put in yesterday at 24th of April, at 73.80 on Mexico, I'd be looking for an actual move all the way back down here towards about 71.50 to 7100ish region. So it's a little bit of a tight squeeze here, and obviously any sort of a 4 hour dildo closure below, let's call it even like these bodies right here at about 74.50ish region probably does that one as well. So depending upon how aggressive I'd want to be, which I don't want to be any amounts of aggressive on a weekend, that's what I'd be looking at right now. Elsa's coughing in the background, so. It's only a matter of time, baby. It's only a matter of time before your boy has it. Well, I'm prepared, man. I'm prepared as much as I can be, I suppose. Anyways, I do want to cover up this as well. The 12-hour historical volatility percentile, we are still within the context of this. That does insinuate that a move is coming sooner rather than later. And when I say sooner rather than later, I do think that we're going to see the resolution of this whole range as far as the long term goes around end of month, which is in just a few days, realistically speaking. That means I expect Bitcoin price action to either be above like 8,000 or below 7,000 by that time. But for right now, on a Saturday, I don't think that we're going to get that resolution today. From a 12-hour perspective, this is looking good right here. 12-hour Stokes going to be up as well. So why ever discount them when they've been so good? It's like, why am I doing any sort of technical analysis that is not based on this pretty much exclusively? I don't know. But if you do want to make things easy, for the last couple of years, this has been pretty damn fucking on the money. And we do see this resistance trend line coming in from our last few highs, which has been pretty damn accurate, right at the edge of the bullish control zone. And this one very much very significant, as we have seen it get a lot of highs ever since February 9th, by the way, to be exact, which was our high at 10,500, our high right here at 9,100 before this major move to the downside, our next high right over here before a $1,000 move to the downside, and then once again more recently right here before a how big was this move? 73 to 67. So yeah, less impressive, but a 600 move to the downside, and then we probably will test that trend line once again, assuming that Bitcoin gets somewhere around this blue box territory. So right now I'm positionless, like I did say, I was short coming into yesterday, and I did close it on that move down to this blue box right here. I might take the same trade if I get another opportunity, on today. But depending upon how we close the daily, I'm not so certain that I'll be hodling that for any realistic amount of time. Anyways, what else do we want to look at? I don't really see any, the volume signature kind of confirming what we see on historical volatility percentile. Depending upon how the 12-hour closes right here as well, we could very easily undo that bearish divergence. It's not even bearish divergence, but I'm sure what the bears are looking at right now is they're going to say that this is going to turn into bearish divergence. I think that's actually already unconfirmed. So you know what? Not only is it looking like continuation, this is just a local, it's not even a local high right here. But we're actually even making higher highs on the RSI right there as well. So again, if you're looking for like the big move on a weekend, I don't think that is happening here. At most, I'd say up to 77.50 or down to like 71.50ish region. And I think that managing trades within this region is pretty damn stock standard. Any sort of a move even above this high right here probably does get that continuation. Although technically speaking, I'd wait for like an hourly close above 76 and an hourly close below about 74. We'll call it, or just tick below 73.80 to extrapolate the next move down to the short term range. But that's only relevant to the short term. Medium term and long term ranges are actually one and the same now. Above about 79.50. Things start to really look a lot better for a move up to about mid 8,000s this region. By the same token, a move below about 7,100. That's when this really does look like it's going to come back down below 6,000 again, maybe up to like the mid to low 5,000s, probably somewhere around the 200 simple or 200 exponential moving average on the weekly, which I'm going to guess is right around those areas. Oh, and what do you know? It's right around 5,700. It looks like. So I do still think that it's possible for for this downside to happen. I just need to see today's close, and that's going to really drive my next bias. But if I'm just looking at the lower term time frames, I mean it looks like an obvious flag out at a high level, which is typically very bullish. Obviously, yes. The problem with this is that it's on a weekend, and I'm very skeptical of moves happening on a weekend. Doesn't mean that it can't be good. Doesn't mean that it can't happen. But ever since CMEs have debuted in 2017. December 2017, we have never seen a reversal that's happened over a weekend be sustained by further price action, once a real trading week starts. So that in this case, that actually means to the downside, I'd be very skeptical of, but that doesn't mean that we can have a little bit of downside pop back up for Sunday and then, perhaps play a move. But for right now, continuation in the same direction would actually be to the upside. So that'd be actually fine. Okay. So one of the other reasons why I do think Bitcoin probably is going to be putting in a local high, at least for medium term here, is because I think that traditional markets are putting in a local high right here as well. And this is coming from someone who actually does think that the low is likely in for traditional markets. I do actually think that it is in. Now, the low being in does not mean that I just fucking buy blindly in this region right here. I don't even trade this one anymore. So doesn't mean that it means that I do nothing pretty much. Anyways, let me just make sure that everything's going well over here. I think it is. And it looks like my charts are my charts updating like instantaneously? They are. Okay, great. That's awesome. Just talking to myself some more. Probably sound like a fucking maniac. But traditional marks right here did close the weekly as what do you want to call it? A dragonfly doji diddle? Do you want to call it a doji diddle? Do you want to call it a long-legged doji diddle? I don't care what you call it. The implication is the same, a signal of indecision, perhaps even reversal. If we take out this week's low at about 272.25, I'd be looking for a move back down to like the 250s, 255-ish region, probably wherever the 30 simple is on the daily, which I haven't been looking at in a long time. Let's go see, I believe it's this one right here. And yeah, or actually that's much higher, about 260. So that'd be the next obvious target to the downside if that were to happen. Next week, but I would be looking for a bounce there, and kind of the same thing as Bitcoin. Very, 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 very similar charts here, having a very violent move off the lows. And while I do think that depending upon how this next capitulation, or sorry, depending upon how this next hash ribbon signals go, you probably see a very similar chart in the way that they're going to, maybe you bottom out of here a little bit more gradually, scare people once again with an abrupt move to the downside, and then once all the headlines get going of depression, worse than 1929, worse than this, worse than that, this is the worst time ever, everyone's jobless, everyone's fucking losing everything, then that's probably going to be a pretty damn good time. And you see the hysteria around the web too. It's just very interesting to me to see like the cryptocurrency people or the cryptocurrency YouTubers cheer on the fall of this while thinking that that's going to benefit Bitcoin. We just don't see the same thing. I mean, if I remove the term SPY here and just put this chart against Bitcoin's chart for the same time period, same fucking chart, man. Big move to the downside. Obviously, bigger move in Bitcoin because this was literally it's a 60% move to the downside, okay, compared with like a 30% move on SPY. But again, you can't expect SPY to act as as a more immature asset, and then about a 31% move to the upside. Bitcoin obviously doubling off the lows. It's all relative, right? It's all relative. So at the end of the day, I do think that I actually think that the contrarian trade here is actually to be bullish long term on traditional markets, and not be looking for a new low to be made, but depending upon how this next week goes, and especially how the monthly closes, that's going to be, I think that that's going to really help clarify the situation here. If the monthly closes anywhere above 280, 286, 280, 287, I do think that that's going to be long-term bullish, and I don't think that we're going to be making a new low. I do think that we're probably going to test back down to like 260 at the very least, maybe down to like 240 at the very most. But I'd be looking for a major low to be set in there. This is a phenomenal move. Yes, we did get some pretty massive signals on the monthly Joule. Yes, we did get some pretty hefty turnarounds, but on a closing basis, if we were to set in a low right here, we're going to have a major hidden bullish divergence. And I'm sure that someone's going to say, but Krown, the wick here is lower. How could that be? Because RSI is only measured on fucking closes. Jesus Christ. And I know that message is coming, man. I fucking know it. I've been doing it too long now. I've been doing it for over 2 years now. So I'm prepared. I can like almost answer questions before they even arise. Gold had a pretty damn close for the weekly as well. I do like this one. I think that is going to be getting more continuation. Yes, I want to see the monthly close as well, but a weekly close like that is looking good enough. I still stick with what I've been saying long term, 1800, probably 1800 plus realistically. We've been bullish on this one for a while, and I don't really see any reason to not be medium and long-term bullish. Short term, is there a threat of a pullback? Yeah, there is. Maybe back down to 1650 in the next month, but I don't think that that's really problematic. As long as long as we're closing weekly like this is fine. Even coming back down to like 1690 would be completely fine. Let's go check out, what else do we want to check out? Is this video already long enough? Oh, it's 27 minutes, so I'm not going to meet my goal, but maybe I can whip this one out really, really fast. When in doubt, whip it out, baby. Looking at daily Aetherium, this one's breaking through. This one's leading the party. Daily Stokes back up. Daily historical volatility percentile is actually still contracting, which is concerning. Here's the thing, though. We are going to be meeting this trend line, I'm sure, soon. Or are we going to be meeting it soon? That's coming in at about $200 even. So interesting. Is rather interesting here. But I would be looking for a pullback somewhere right around like $200, I suppose. Let's see what the weekly looks like on this one. Yeah, the weekly's gonna have a really good chance to close extremely well here. If the weekly closes anywhere above 192, I think that we are going to see this one green dildo its way up to our topside resistance, which is, hey, why is that so off right there? Why is that so off-putting? Hold on. In this case, I actually will use wicks just because this one does long term, it actually does like to kind of play off that, especially when we're talking about macro levels, perhaps all the way back up to like 250-ish region. All of this, though, is hinging off the assumption that this daily closes well, and I would look for Bitcoin to set the tone. So even if Buteral does close above there, if I don't see the same things on Bitcoin or like a relatable thing on Bitcoin, I would not just plainly look at that. And going over here to Mrs. Litecoin at $45, certainly the laggard still like not looking strong here. Actually looking at me like it's probably trying to put in a top. Potential hidden bearish divergence. I apologize. No, that is not correct. Looking at the weekly still looks, well, weak to me, to use a bad pun. The 4 hour looks weak to me as well. Momentum also is kind of getting faded here. 4 hours, so it's going to likely be turning down soon as well. And I do think that this one looks to me like it wants to come back down to $42. But again, whatever Bitcoin does is going to mirror. So while I'm looking at Buteral and this is Litecoin, is it really relevant? I don't think so. Maybe Buteral is, because I think that he's in charge of the market right now. But typically Buteral rallies last as far as what I've seen. So maybe another spike up to $200. I would be looking for a pullback there, especially on the first pass. So going back on to Bitcoin and wrapping this bitch up, going to keep it within 30 minutes. So almost near my goal, but not quite. 50% more, so fuck it. And I didn't even check out expected moves. So let's actually go back on over here. So what I'll do with expected moves, I'll look at the short-term range and then I'll look at the long-term range. So short-term range again is 74 to the downside, 76 to the upside. The long-term range is 71 to the downside and 79 to the upside. We'll call it, or maybe 79.50 to the upside. So let's go look at it right in over here. And let's see okay, well, I'm already on a 4 hour, so might as well do it on a 4 hour. We can do 76.20 for the upside and 73.80 for the downside. That's exactly where the wick is. So what's most likely right now? Technically the upside, mathematically speaking, 26%, 26.25% versus 9.25% to the downside. So probabilities are still governed towards the upside for the short term. But what about the long term? Let's go see this. Let's do 79.50 for the upside and 7,100 for the downside. That's when the moves really start to be a lot more interesting for, from that perspective. This is on a 4 hour. We need to maybe go to a daily at the very least. And we see that technically speaking, the upside target probability is actually a little bit more than the downside, 8% versus 5.75%. But they're more or less the same and more or less very low is what I want to show. So are we going to be looking at the big break up or down or down today? Unlikely. No. I would expect this to shoot up above like 25% or 20ish% in the next few days to one of those sides. And that's going to be likely correlated with the break, relatively very soon. I think quite possibly within the next few days. That's what I'd be looking at right now. As far as lower term timeframes go, to kind of shore them up once again, I think even on a 2 hour, this is probably fine. Technically speaking, 7,600. If I do see a 2 hour dildo closure above there, or even an hourly dildo closure above there, I would target a move back up to 77.50ish region. I understand that these moves are pretty fucking small, but this is weekend bullshit. And 7,400 to the downside, I'd be looking for a move back down about 7,150 to 7,100ish region. I don't think that we'd break below this area on the weekend. If we do, I would be looking for a big bad move to the downside. But now, if we actually were to break to the downside longer term, this would probably be, the measure move on this is certainly not as aggressive as it was before. So before, I think I was showing like 5,400. Now it's coming in around like 5,600. So as time goes on, the failure to break to the downside in the short term does mean that the long term, if it were to break to the downside, that target's gonna be higher naturally. So I think a little bit of patience here is still the way to go, unless if like you're truly fucking deprived of whatever, which I'm sure there's plenty of crypto degenerates out there trading on a weekend, trading a fucking 5 minute chart on a weekend. Hey, I shout out and pour one out for you, my friend, but I just won't be joining you. That's all. Anyways, that's gonna do it for right now. Like I said, might be on Twitch later today, might not be. Need to deal with some real life stuff first and see how that goes, and then if we can, I will. If not, then I won't. So with that said, wish you once again take care, and until next time.